Welcome to the Derek Loudermilk Show. This is episode 353 with Sergey Young. Sergey Young is the author of Growing Young, the Science and Technology of Growing Young. He's also the founder of the Longevity Vision Fund, which is the world's largest investment fund focusing on longevity companies. He says his mission is to help 1 billion people live a happy and healthy 100 years. And he also asserts that with the longevity revolution, which is what he's talking about in his book, that we can live to 200 in the body of a 25-year-old. Now, partly there's things that we can be doing now to live that long, and partly there's technologies coming down the pipe on the horizon in 10, 15, 50 years that are really going to help extend lifespan. So he's going to talk to us about what we can do right now to bridge that 10, 20 years in order to, wait for those technologies to come and really boost our longevity. So Sergey's book is fantastically well researched, and he understands exactly what he's talking about, but his real expertise is on the investment side of things. He's been working in investments for decades. And so I asked him a little bit about how he decides on what companies to invest in. And it's funny because this is the second podcast episode in a row where we discover that there's almost too much money and not enough good companies that you can really invest in and grow. Or he's not able to participate because his fund isn't big enough. So hearing a little bit about the venture capital world when you're dealing with millions and billions of dollars, it was really eye-opening for me. And you're going to want to listen to the end because Sergey tells a story about his name. Obviously, his name is Sergey Young, and he's working in longevity. How did that come about? So there's a special extra story that he tells about that situation. So without further ado, here is Sergey Young. Sergey Young, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Derek. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're joining us from Italy, so that's fantastic.
Oh, my goodness. So every summer with my 4 kids, I'm an investor, so I call it diversified portfolio of 4 kids. We're spending a summer here in Tuscany, and this year is not an exception. I had such an amazing experience last night. We're living nearby to Andrea Bocelli, to the singer, and he's done like a private concert for people who are living in the same village. It was amazing.
Wow.
Life is full of beautiful surprises.
Yeah. Do you always go to the same place or different countries each summer?
No, so the nature of my work, like pre-COVID, I was just literally living in a plane. So we just I've done so many times around the globe, and I actually went to North Pole and South Pole as well in the last 5 years. And so that's why I'm sticking to summer routine is always in Tuscany in one village, and we can enjoy it. It was just like an island of stability in my very unstable character, priorities, schedule, and way of living. Yeah.
Well, I actually I wanted to ask you about the pole trip. That was actually where I was planning on starting. So funny that you brought it up because I believe you decided not to climb Everest.
Yeah.
But you have been to the poles. Could you talk about in relation to your longevity?
Yes, I can. So, well, first of all, this whole journey started with, and all this kind of travel plan started with the book from Tim Ferriss. It's called 4 Hours Work Week. I mean, it's pretty famous and known book, but what Tim says there is create a plan, like a list of the places that you always wanted to go, but never kind of bother to organize yourself. And it's actually started here in Italy, in Sicily, 7 years ago. So I just it's not really randomly, but out of the blue, I put a North Pole there, South Pole there, Mount Everest as well. And it was such a cool adventure just to see these places on Earth that not a lot of people can see with completely different landscape, eco environment. It's been amazing. But if we can put it in the context of passive longevity or not dying from your stupid decisions, this is, when people ask me like, what you can do today to live longer, I always answer with 5 longevity buckets. So we just touch on longevity bucket number 2, which I call passive longevity or don't die stupid. Like sometimes we make decisions which we think going to be fine for us, but statistically it just really shorten our lifespan. And my biggest problem with these decisions is like tobacco smoking. Tobacco smoking is just minus 10 years from your life. I think it's known to pretty much everyone, including people who smoke tobacco. Yeah, like using seatbelts is like 2 years, plus 2 years to your life on every occasion. Having 0 alcohol tolerance policy when you're driving is also important. And just avoiding this extreme undertakings, like, extreme projects in your life. Like when I was preparing for this podcast, 2 weeks ago, I received the note from a very good friend. She's from California. She's roughly 40 plus. So she sent me a note and said, Sergey, I'm about to climb a mountain called K2. And for the audience, this is the most dangerous mountain to climb on Earth. Mortality rate is 25%. So you get 1 out of 4 chances to die as a result of your own decision. Like Russian roulette is like 17% of chances of dying. And it's considered like pretty dangerous routine back 100 or 200 years back. So, and I thought it's really unnecessary degree of risk. Like when I was just looking at the idea of to climbing Mountain Everest, like the highest mountain on Earth, like mortality rate there is 6%. So I thought like, with a father of 4, I'm a father of 4. I'm the man who wants to change 1 billion lives. Why would I want to take something with 6% mortality risk as well? And just to finalize this with for like second bucket, there's so many things happening in our environment which actually contributes to our longevity and increasing our health span and lifespan, like driverless cars. So even today, the current stage of development, driverless cars decrease the mortality rate from accidents by a factor of 10, by 10 times. Imagine that. So like, next time when you've been offered to, well, not to drive, but like just to sit and relax and drive this car, take it, because it's going to increase your chances to live longer, healthier and happier life. And like, or things like motorcycles, they pretty bad, like 17 times. You're likely to die from motorcycle accidents with the rate of like 17 times in comparison to car accidents as well. But like, I mean, it sounds a little bit dramatic, scary, conservative. My mom told me that. Thank you, Sergey. But that's like, well, this is the complexity of the things that we need to manage to live longer and healthier life. And human health and human biology will never be like a one single thing that you just address and then like, well, you're going to break the sound barrier of longer living. No, it's always a combination of a lot of things.
Have you been in a self-driving car?
No. Well, okay. The answer is yes, but it was not in self-driving. Okay, it was in self-driving mode, but it was someone sitting by, in a driving seat and was just like, it was trying to coordinate the work of artificial intelligence algorithms driving that. But like, I'm not really concerned about this one. Like, it's going to be available to us in the next 3 to 5 years anyway, so whether we want it or not.
Yeah, I think our new Toyota has like self-driving on the highway. You could just, once you get in the lanes, it can keep it in the lanes and you're fine. So what's interesting to me is like, okay, people, want to climb K2 or these other mountains. And obviously we know there's risk, but I think we have a hard time assessing just how dangerous things really are. Like the pandemic, like, people don't know how dangerous it is climbing a mountain, riding a motorcycle, all these things. Like you're talking about statistics, right? All these, lifespan and statistics, like how can someone really take all these actuarial type thinking
Yeah.
and actually translate it for themselves?
Well, great question, actually. I had a lot of discussion on longevity, but not necessarily from like statistical or actuarial point of view. So, so if you think about what we have in the book in the science and technology of growing young, so what I'm really saying is like 90% of death, thank you,
Which I'll just,
90% of death that we have after turning age of 50 is due to 4 kind of killer diseases, as I call them. So it's cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and neurodegenerative diseases. And 3 out of 4 we already have pretty good knowledge of. Like we're right in the middle of winning the war against cancer. We know how to prevent heart disease and how to monitor the work of our heart, thanks to wearables, electrocardiograms, a lot of different diagnostic devices. And the same happened with diabetes. I'm like full of sensors, right? So I'm wearing my glucose. You can see it. There's a glucose, continuous glucose monitor. Yeah, here as well. And I think if you want to influence like a big numbers and influence both quality and of your years and quantity of your years, you just need to be preventive. Like look at the statistics. Like if you discover cancer stage 4, and let me just kind of use like a generic term, cancer. Cancer is kind of is many things, but like stage 4 cancer, and on average, probably will give you like 20 to 30% of recovery. Like so in like 70 or 80%, you will just die if you discover this as stage 4. And then which is more importantly, even if you survive through this experience, the quality of your life might never recover. But like if you do really early diagnostic and you discover cancer at stage 1, for all of the for majority of the cancer types, your recovery rates it can be up to like 90 or even 100%. So that's important, and it's actually 10 to 20 times cheaper to treat cancer at this stage rather than to going through this whole emergency reaction and procedures and through all of these shocks of treating stage 4 cancer. So that's actually very important to be like preventive about your health, and you're always trying to to think like what is unconditional about this behavior. It is actually an unconventional. Sorry, not unconventional, not unconditional. But like the paradigm of the current medicine, it's just very symptomatic, very reactive. So disease manifests itself as stage 4. You go to your doctor and they're like, oh my goodness, you have stage 4. We need to react to that. It's expensive. It's low degree of recovery, etc. But like if you are unconventional about this thinking, and you know that you need to take back control and responsibility for your own health, and like every year you need to do like the most comprehensive version of health screen that you can afford, and you can like push the healthcare system to do for you. Well, that's amazing. You basically extending your lifespan and health span to at least 100 healthy and happy years. So unless you're like really unlucky in genetic lottery, well, let's say your chances to live happy and healthy 100 years. And this is beautiful. And we live in a very unique intersection of scientific discoveries and technological breakthroughs. There's so many things which are helpful today in the context of early diagnostic, like you can this number of tools, and they all like anywhere between like $100 and $200 that you can do to detect early stage colon cancer. Literally in many hospitals, or just 5 or 10 years ago, you would just need to go through colonoscopy like every 5 years. It's invasive procedure. I hate this. I'm a longevity enthusiast. So I was delaying my colonoscopy for like 2 years. I just hated the whole idea. And it's expensive. It's $800 to like $2,500 depending on the like a procedure itself. And well, right now, a combination of full body MRI and all of this kind of liquid biopsy, it's either blood test or fecal test, and then your results are pre-analyzed by artificial intelligence. can give you the same indication, like whether you're really running the risk of early stage colon cancer with the same specificity, like an efficiency, like colonoscopy. But like you can do it every 3 or 6 months. Colonoscopy, based on protocol, you do every 5 years. Imagine if your colon cancer develop itself like exactly in between of like these two time points. So that's well, it's just one of the examples of you can do. And we, through Longevity Vision Fund, we invest in a lot in early diagnostic. Like we invested in a company, this it's called Eco Imaging. They just announced a new round today. And what they do is a very affordable and accessible version of ultrasound diagnostic device, and it costs 50 times less than ultrasound diagnostic device that you have in the hospital next door. Even like my Apple Watch has, can do electrocardiogram today and right now. And I know the good friend of mine is a doctor. He's been called on a flight a few times in the last few months to help people. And he told me, like, first thing I do is just take away my Apple Watch and I do electrocardiogram. It's obviously not as precise as something you can do in hospital, but like when you're flying and you want to eliminate the heart disease risk area, well, this is a beautiful device, and this is how far we went to like preventive and like a precision version of medicine.
Are you saying that he's been on planes where people have had?
Yeah, like well, all these announcements, like if someone is on a plane with medical degree, please see attendants to help the passenger. Blah blah, and sometimes you can't really speak to the person. He or she felt really bad. So like this is the first thing that he does, like just doing electrocardiogram with his Apple Watch. Yeah, it is. And like we tend to think about our wearables, and I'm like full of wearables. I'm not advertising Apple Watch. I'm actually missing my Fitbit time before it was bought by Google, and I'm actually experimenting this week with Whoop from Amazon. I'm wearing Oura Ring to measure my sleep and continuous glucose monitor as well. So we tend to think about this thing as like it's just notifications or like convenience and like counting 10,000 steps a day. It's not. Just in a few years from now, wearables will become our personalized healthcare device. They will just add like a couple of functions there, like measuring your glucose level and measuring your blood pressure. And it's going to be 90 or 95% of the data you want to collect about your own health on a regular or almost like on permanent basis. So that's going to be amazing preventive tool for all of us. Well, we don't think about this as personalized healthcare devices. And moreover, sorry, I can keep talking about longevity all the time. Just a final thing.
Let me interject here, because I know you have a background in investing, and the economics of healthcare, like you're talking about, like the current system is responsive, and it seems like it's an uphill battle to a sense, because there's a incentive to have pharmaceuticals that are expensive and you can just treat for a long time. And so it seems almost you're fighting against this huge machine or profit motive to do early treatment.
Yeah, that's true. There's a very, well, it's just enormous conflict of interest between our interest and interest of other parties involved in managing our health. And I'm not trying to be like dramatic about this whole thing. I think it's just a way this world works. But we do have a lot of problems in the healthcare system, specifically in U.S. U.S. has the most expensive and inefficient healthcare system in the world. We spend 18% of GDP on healthcare, and our results, are not necessarily great. Pre-COVID, in the last 5 years pre-COVID, 3 out of 5 of these years, we had our average lifespan declined rather than increase, like for the rest of the world. And like UK, I'm on UK parliamentary working group for national longevity strategy in Great Britain, and they spend like 8%, not 18% of their GDP on healthcare, and they have higher lifespan. Or Singapore. Singapore spends like 5% of their GDP on healthcare, and they share in like top 2 places in the world, together with Japan, for like longest lifespan and health span as well. So there's something needs to change. And like if you want to have a personal takeaway from this whole like a macro picture, we delegated all our decisions which are related to our health to other parties, governments, regulators, insurance companies, big food, big pharma. Like, where's our voice? Yeah. Like, where's our voice? Like, I mean, I'm not saying you on your own, you need to decide and make like decisions how to treat particular disease, but you should be a part of this conversation. So what I'm saying, right after like post-COVID, it's time to rethink and change our paradigm about our health and take back control and responsibility for this kind of decisions, be like an equal part of this. And you cannot do this overnight. So it took me, well, at least 5 to 7 years to, of different, knowledge experiments. And I'm not a biohacker. I'm actually a very conservative guy. So, just to understand, like, it's even like basics of human biology and some of the very old rules that we forgot within the current system. And these rules, like our body has self-healing capabilities, not against all the diseases. Like for some of the really difficult diseases, you would need to seek doctor's help. But like changing your lifestyle in combination with early diagnostic and preventive medicine can easily add 10, 15, even like 20 healthy and happy years to your life. Like coming back to your earlier point on this system that we have here. I do believe that the change in the healthcare will come not from old players. This will not come from the current system because it's just too kind of dedicated and dependent from just increasing your healthcare bill and therefore you have an opportunity to put higher commission on that and benefit. The change in the healthcare will come from new players disrupting the things. That's why I'm very positive. I'm not like 100% positive on big tech, but I'm very positive about big tech coming into healthcare. I do believe like in 10 years from now, the biggest healthcare companies on earth are going to be called Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft.
Interesting prediction. Yeah, I know. I've heard that Apple is, this saying, we're going to be known for our contribution for healthcare more than anything else.
Well, that's why I switched to Apple Watch. And I've just seen a report, I think it was published last year by Morgan Stanley, that by the end of this decade, Apple can make up to 50% of its revenue from healthcare. And that's amazing. And Apple, like, watch out, Apple. Apple already demonstrated in many times its ability to disrupt, improve, and uplift so many aspects of our life. And again, like if you talk about current system, like in some of the cases, 60% of our personal health data exchange between the different vendors happens through fax. When was the last time you've seen fax machine?
Yeah, so
I don't even remember that
outdated.
Yeah, technology, like trying to protect the privacy. Like if you're trying to collect like your personal health dossier from clinics, doctors, different vendors, I mean, you can do it just on paper, right? There's no like a universal healthcare database when you can store it. And it's not only a privacy issue, it's just efficiency and this whole disintegration of the system issue as well. So we need to take control of that. So like if you go to my office, I have like a lot of files of my different health data and health records as well.
It just occurred to me there's got to be a blockchain application for sort of a universal healthcare database. Have you seen something like that?
So obviously, we are not seeing a lot of the blockchain applications in this field, because like if you think about the importance of blockchains, like no one will try to like a redo or reframe or like a change your health record. In the end of the day, like the probably the only person on earth is who thinks this data is precious is you, right? And when it goes to like a large scale data sets, like 10,000 data sets, 100,000 data sets, then it's just economy of scale and your ability to draw conclusions. And we actually see a lot of impact from like machine learning, big data processing, artificial intelligence in majority of companies that we're investing in through Longevity Vision Fund, not necessarily blockchain. I do think blockchain is, and I'm pretty naive in the blockchain anyway, is more like when you just want to make sure this data is just stays there and will never be kind of amended and changed. That's the importance of it. So I'm thinking about this more towards like a financial industry rather than healthcare. But I wouldn't be surprised if blockchain will find its way to disrupt healthcare as well. Yeah.
I'm wondering how you got the longevity bug. How did you get into this?
So unfortunate reality, majority of us, or probably all of us, need to have like a wake-up call to start thinking and taking care of your own health. And, I would love all of us to be like, just waking up one day and thinking, oh, okay, I need to take care of my health. But it's usually significant, even shocking deterioration of your own health or health of the people that you love and you care about. And then you kind of start thinking, oh my goodness, I've neglected this whole, part of my life and my thinking, my knowledge, my focus, for so many years and decades. So for me, it was like, two wake-up calls. One was lung cancer case, of my father. He had really late stage cancer back in 2005. He survived, but the quality of his life has never recovered. And, like he literally shrunk in size by 1/3. So he's alive. I'm grateful for that, but obviously not on a condition that we want him to be. And then for me, it was literally with a very usual for 40% of Americans and developed world high cholesterol story. There's nothing dramatic there. I think it was back in autumn 2014. I saw a doctor and they pushed me to do like a blood test. They found that I have extremely high cholesterol level. I'm genetically predisposed to have this. And that I learned later on. And they said, well, Sergey, no problem. We know how to solve it. Here's your medication. You should take it. And at this time, I thought, well, it's just like a 1-month thing. So I just gonna take it and then I'm healthy again. And they said, well, Sergey, you don't understand. You're going to be taking this every day for the rest of your life. And at this point of time, I thought I'm going to be living another 40 years. Today, I think I'm going to be living another 151 because I'm a big fan of psychological aspects of aging and longevity. So we will come back to that. And I thought, okay, I had very simple question, like, rather than taking this every day for another 40 years, like, what's the alternative? And they even didn't want to tell me that. They said, like, Sergey, like, everyone knows what to do. Like, no one actually does that. And they said, well, omega-3 supplements, changing your diet, more plant-based, less red meat, and physical exercise. And I couldn't believe my ears. I thought, well, is that, that simple? So I started to experiment with, all of this, 3 kind of changes, and my level of cholesterol decreased by 25%. This is similar to what you get from statins. And I was so surprised that, our body has this, amazing capabilities to actually heal itself from certain diseases or certain unhealthy conditions if you support it with, proper food, physical activity, proper thoughts as well. Like, you need to be mentally healthy also to enjoy your life and live longer. And so I started to share that, but like, it was funny thing. So I take a look at this prescription for statins and I Google that. So my first degree is chemical engineering. And I thought, okay, I'm not a big fan of putting this chemical substance to my body every day, because there's obviously just a lot of side effects in accumulation if you like consume it in a real kind of long term. So my second degree is financial one, banking and insurance. So, and I quickly Google like this particular big pharma producing company, and apparently it was like second largest revenue driver for them. So like at the moment when I'll take like the first pill, they already booking this whole revenue for the next 40 years from Sergey Young.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, exactly. So that's why, I thought, okay, like, well, I'm not going to give up so easy. And that's why I'm a big fan of like whatever the technologies which going to be available to us in 10, 15 years from now in a near horizon of longevity, as explained in a book. It's like gene editing, gene therapy, organ regeneration, longevity in the pill, like special class of drugs which are going to be fighting age-related diseases. Like there's so many things that we can do now, and it's combination of like early diagnostic, being a part of this, circle which makes decisions about your health, and lifestyle changes, and that's you can be like super healthy as well, just on the basis of this very simple mix of lifestyle modification decisions as well.
So you did this changes to your life and saw the results, and what was next? Like, when did you become a longevity investor?
Yeah. And, that's just one thing. The second thing is like, early, like when I turned 18, I had to work and to study full time, because I was born in the USSR. My father and my mother lost their jobs, like usually, like literally overnight. And they called me up and said, Sergey, I mean, you obviously like second year student in university. We cannot support you anymore. And it's very likely that we're not going to be paid for another 6 to 12 months. So just if you can share anything that you will earn, it's going to be great as well. So I took care of my younger brother and my father and mother. And but my problem was always being like, I didn't have a passion in life until the age of 43, until this high cholesterol case happened to me. And I was so jealous. Like all of my friends, they were like, some of them like fishing, some of them were like collecting stamps, some of them were like painting, dancing. And I always been like kind of cool guy. It's interesting, but it was just not exciting. So then what puts you on the hook is when I started to do these changes with my body, obviously look younger, I become much more healthier version of myself. I pushed so many people to do their annual checkups. And a few of them, I think more than 5, discovered early stage cancer. So they recovered from that because it was early stage cancer. They managed to survive and retain the quality of their life. So all of them called me up and said, Sergey, you saved my life. And once you receive few calls like that, you are on a hook. You basically realize that you was born on this planet not to earn money. I mean, and even for the good thing, things like supporting my kids, supporting my parents, my younger brother, doing a lot of good things in working in pro bono organizations. But like, I thought I can do so many things for this world, just saving people's lives. And I'm not a doctor, right? So I thought, I'm an investor for the last 20 years. So I set up a relatively small fund. In financial industry terms, like $100 million fund is nothing. It's a lot of money for you and me. But and it's not my money. It's money of my investors who trust my ability to manage that. But like with $100 million fund, we became the largest, not one of the largest, the largest longevity focused fund in the world. And this is not to tell you how great we are. This is to tell you how early stage and immature this industry is. Mm-hmm. In fact, I actually wanted to set up like $50 million fund. but I raised this 50 million in the first 5 minutes from some of my existing investors, and I'm insecure overachiever. So I thought, okay, I couldn't really appreciate something, which, I would just work for like 5 minutes and it's like that. So I immediately pushed the limit to $100 million. And obviously it took like another 12 months to raise it. But well, here's the story. And through Longevity Vision Fund, we're looking at 200 longevity technology companies a year to invest in 10 of them, roughly. And it's been exciting. It's been amazing door opener. And this is why, I thought, well, I'm at a very unique position. I'm a founder of one of the very few longevity-focused funds in the world. I have access to all these brilliant minds, all these Harvard professors, people who sequence human genome, who knows what works and what doesn't work for human health. I'm spending hours in these labs with the best entrepreneurs, scientists, academics, inventors in this field. So I wanted to share it with the world. Well, this is the story behind the science and technology of growing young. And obviously I made a lot of friends just by writing this book. When we talk about the ethics of longevity and human avatars, I reach out to Peter Jackson, the man behind the Avatar movie, Lord of the Rings, Hobbits. And we spent like hour and a half. I was in Europe. It was early morning it was like middle of the night for me. It was early morning for him in New Zealand. And I was discussing the future of human avatars and its impact on our longevity or radical life extension with the man behind this movie. I mean, it's been amazing. Or David Sinclair and Harvard professor, the author of Lifespan, a best-selling book, talking about epigenetic reprogramming of different cells, when we can make like old cell and transform it into like a new and young cell. This is amazing. Or George Church, the man behind human genome sequencing, or Martin Rothblatt, amazing woman who's just working on completely disrupting this whole sector of organ transplantation, because we do have a huge problem of organ transplantation in this country and in the world. Like only in the US, 117,000 people are on a wait list to receive their donor liver, heart, or any other organ. And some people spend like months there. And some people die, like 17 people die every day just waiting for their donor organ to arrive. And Martin, she does a lot of things to disrupt and change this industry completely. And I just wanted to share that. And our organ transplantations, it's a little bit chaotic, but I just recall 2 years ago, we invested in a company called like Genesis. They're based in Pittsburgh. And what they do, like they start with liver. They take donor liver, split it in 50 to 75 pieces. So that's the opportunity for you, not to like use one donor liver to save one life, but like to use one donor liver to save 75 lives. Oh, wow. And through very simple laparoscopic operation, they put it in your lymph node. And in the course of 3 to 6 months, your body is just regrowing a new liver inside your body, which supports the function of your like a main liver, if you want. Well, this is amazing. And when we invested, they done it with mice, with dogs. Since that, they've done it with pigs and with primates with 100% efficiency. And early this year, 2021, they did receive approval from FDA to start human trials. So they're starting human trials this November, this year. And it's amazing. And like the cost of liver transplantation is $600,000 to $800,000. But like, imagine if you use just one donor liver to help 75 people, like how disruptive is that? And that's the beauty of my work and the thing that we're doing through supporting longevity entrepreneurs through Longevity Vision Fund. Like wherever we invest in, the current system is so inefficient and so reactive and so symptomatic. Like the improvement against the current practice is 10 to 20, not percent, but times. Imagine that.
Yeah. Have you, since you've only been doing it for a few years, have you seen on the investment side, like a return already from?
So it's in investment business, you would need to wait for like 5, 7, 8, 10 years to assess the health of the portfolio. It's a very long term, a little bit like about our health. So our average holding period, and this is the average kind of your investment period with the companies in your portfolio, is a little bit above 2 years. But we've seen some early successes. We already made quite a few good transactions and made a little bit of money. And out of 16 companies that we invested in, 4 became public. And for someone who invested in the portfolio for 2 years, it was the fastest transformation from private to public I've ever seen in my life. Because I've invested in a lot of industries, but here, and we're expecting 3 more public events by the end of this year. So almost half of my portfolio are going to be public. This is great success. That's why we're actually raising the second fund, and we already got we're closing the second fund, first portion of the second fund this month, and we already got another $102 million for the second fund to continue to support these companies and finding new companies which would change our approach to healthcare, and we'll use the science and technology to completely disrupt this space.
Yeah, and I'm getting that. So you're talking to 200 companies a year, and you're also raising money from investors. So you have to have a sort of a very broad network of both on the investing side and meeting a lot of people. So what's your, I think you mentioned you were on planes a lot before COVID. You must be talking to a lot of people. How do you approach thinking about and managing all these people you're talking to?
From a certain point of life, and it's very unfortunate because I'm very extroverted person. You become if you are here for impact, and my mission is to change 1 billion lives by bringing affordable and accessible version of healthcare to the world. You just becoming a manager, which manage other managers, and they have all the beauty of meeting these companies, meeting these great scientists, entrepreneurs, etc. So, and it's very unfortunate part of my life. So I'm spending more time with my internal teams in my different investment funds rather than actually facing some real world people. Obviously I do every time I'm in Boston or in Bay Area or in San Diego, I'm visiting quite a bit of companies just to get enough excitement and understanding what is happening in the field, or if we're about to make a major investment or to follow on. I obviously want to see a founder and scientific team as well. But if you're here for impact, literally 5 years ago, I created the rule that if someone from my team can meet this person, him or her, I'm not going to be doing this. I'll just spend 2 minutes to discuss the briefing for this meeting, what we want to achieve, what we would like to offer, what is our value add to this person or to this company or to this investor, and then I'll just disappear for another few 2 minutes meetings. Again, it's for me, it's almost like a torture. Well, that's probably why it's kind of manifested itself with a book, with podcast, with my ability to speak. And again, everything I do in longevity is pro bono. This is me sharing the best of me with the world. And so it's just very rewarding, but unfortunately it's not that rewarding on human interaction side. But I never feel bored because when I come back home, I just spend time with my 4 kids, and it's always entertaining. Let me put it this way.
Everything you do is pro bono. That's profound.
Yeah, it is look, I made a lot of money from my private equity investment, and I still manage a lot of funds in the different areas real estate development, transportation, logistics, metals and mining, food retail as well. So I don't need to earn money, through just kind of speaking or investing in longevity. I spend a lot of money on a lot of different longevity related projects Universal X Prize, the global competition, pro bono competition of different technologies and interventions and inventions to reverse aging process in humans.
Your you're one of the funders of the X Prize, the longevity.
So
X Prize?
basically, yeah. So what is happening? So we have like X Prize Foundation. It's based in Culver City in California, and some of the key people there is like people like Peter Diamandis, Eric Schmidt, Ray Kurzweil. We have a great innovation board, and I'm part of this innovation board. We work a lot with one of the big names in the world, like Elon Musk already did 2 X Prize competition with us. One was Digital Learning X Prize back in 2019. We awarded the prize. It was $15 million donated by Elon. And he just launched with X Prize, the largest competition in our history, which is $100 million carbon removal X Prize, where the winning team should take CO2 from the atmosphere and create a minimum viable product. Like we all know X Prize as Virgin Galactic. Like the first X Prize was creation, the idea and the target and the aim of creation, like first private spaceship. And then Richard Branson bought it from winning team and then created Virgin Galactic as a business on that basis. So when I joined X Prize Innovation Board, I brought the idea, well, let's just do X Prize competition in the field of age reversal and fighting age-related diseases. And obviously, I received a lot of no before I received my yes. But in the last 2 years, I funded the development stage of age reversal X Prize. It was done solely from my own contribution. And we combined an amazing team of great minds. Obviously, they all contribute for free, like David Sinclair, George, Terry Grossman, Steve Horvath, inventor of one of the most famous biological clocks, Ray Kurzweil, Peter Diamandis. And so we really, going through our last mile of being able to launch the prize. We're still missing $100 million, but money is always there if you have your why and you have your mission and if you have an impact in mind.
And what does it take to win the prize?
Well, we still need to release our competition criteria, but in very rough terms, in the course of, so you take statistically representative sample of people or primates. We're still kind of debating that. And all you need to do is to use your own interventions or your technology or your own science, and it should be approved and should be regulatory okay to use it to reverse aging in the course of this 12 months to the maximum amount of months or years based on biological clocks. So we're going to measure your biology in the beginning and the end of this 12-month experiment and see how your biological age will decrease.
I want to get back to biological clocks. I want to put a bookmark there. But first, I wanted to ask some advice. I have a friend who's he's a PhD in neural implants, and he hosts the Neural Implant podcast, but he knows all the founders and CEOs and most of the researchers in the space because of his podcast. And he was talking to me. He said, I think, all these companies, they need funding, right? That's one of their biggest challenges. And he said, I think because I know them all and I know their science and I know their business, I should be helping them getting funded. What advice would you give to my friend?
Yeah, connect him to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, and that's it. I'll be delighted to help. And we've been struggling to find a target, like investment target in all this human brain AI integration field. Because if you think about this, and in your friend, I think is probably 100 times more talented and educated about this whole thing. We have this massive trade-off, and we need to choose the path. Whether it's going to be a non-invasive way to like scan and exchange the information with our brain, or it's going to be invasive. It's similar to what Elon Musk does with Neuralink. And it's similar things actually happen. And that's why we didn't invest in neural implants, because we don't know which way technology will go. And similar to that, that's why we didn't invest in human avatars, because I still don't know whether it's going to be a robotic avenue or virtual avatar avenue. It's much more efficient and easier to recreate you and me and many of us in virtual reality. So that's why the virtual world is competing in terms of efficiency to like beauty of recreating ourselves in robotic and material way. So, but like seriously, I would like to connect. And my advice, if this is he, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if he's passionate about helping these companies, I mean, he should do that. Follow his passion, and because he developed this knowledge in such a kind of forefront and unique technological and scientific avenue, this is great. He should be doing that. He should be speaking to us, to some of the few funds who are investing in longevity, some of the big tech, small tech companies, and look, it's always a funnel, always. Like, you know, and well, what was my ratio? Sometimes you need to receive like 30 or well, like when I was writing the book, like selling the rights for the book, because I wanted to do a book with publisher, for good or for bad. Still need to revisit whether it was a good decision. But so we, together with my agency, we were knocking at 30 doors. So I had a discussion with 30 major publishers here in US, and I received one yes. Okay. Well, this is beautiful, because, you know, obviously, but if I would just stop after, you know, having 15 conversations, the science and technology of growing young will just never be published. So for him, it should be a funnel. He should be like, you know, having 100, 200 conversations. And by the end of these conversations, he would find, you know, 3, 5, 10 people, organization or funds who will be able to support all these brilliant companies. And it's very important. Some people are scared by this whole idea of us integrating human intelligence and artificial intelligence. I'm not. We humans, we're so mutually exclusive. We're so binary. We think, well, this is black, this is white. It's like AI going to compete with, you know, human intelligence. No, we're not. We're going to coexist. We're going to be integrated. And then I don't know if you watched the Father movie with Anthony Hopkins. It's very recent movie. It's done. Mm-hmm. It's actually it's done through the eyes of someone who suffers from dementia. The whole movie. It's such a difficult movie. It's just emotionally charging and it's sometimes depressing movie. But like, think about this Neuralink or any other form of human brain computer integration. If we can help people in a late stage dementia or Alzheimer's disease to enjoy last 5 years of their life and not to be like an obligation or liability for their family, but be like a good part of the society, of the community, of the family. This is amazing. And this can be a mission for the friend of yours and for so many people who are passionate about this thing. So he needs to follow his passion. He needs to contact me. But like, it's always about the funnel. I haven't seen, like, your luck is always derives from the number of attempts that you undertook. And sometimes it should be 100, 200 times. You try. And then one day you receive it and people say, oh, come on, he's been lucky with that. So luck is just organized process of, you know, always trying to achieve and to reach out something.
Yeah, I will put you guys in touch. And I've also just read the story of WeWork and learned more about private equity. And he had a lot of people saying, no, your business doesn't make sense to give it that valuation. But he only needed that one, you know, Japanese SoftBank guy to say yes. $50 billion valuation. And so it's
I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, some people like say, well, it's a different example, but it's like the same conclusion. Some people say, like, I met a guy and he's like, I'm unhappy with the workplace that I'm currently in. And I'm like, live it now. And he's like, you know what? I just spent like a year there. How I'm going to explain to other people when I'm going to be, you know, having job interviews. Like I just spent only 1 year with a company, you know, and they would think that and that. And I said, come on, your next job interview, you just need 1 yes. Even if you receive like 90 no, you need to have one person believing in you, that you're brave. You made a decision to leave the place that you don't belong to, then you're not sharing the culture and ethics of it, and move on. So this is the same. I mean, don't think that all the world like should have 51% vote to support you. Find another passionate or crazy guys and do it with them.
You mentioned bravery. Is there an element of bravery that you have to rely on in the work you're doing?
Like in life that I'm living. Yes. And I think bravery is not just like having zero fears. We all pretty fearful people. Like more than half of motivation of people investing in longevity or interested in longevity is like fear of death or fear of missing out. I had a good chat with Patrick McGuinness, the guy who actually created the acronym of fear of missing out. We share a lot of travel stories. Let's just like to be brave. It's not like you don't have fears. To be brave is just accept your fears and kind of ignore them and move on. And obviously, I do have a lot of fears, but I don't give it a chance to paralyze myself.
And what's an example maybe of how you've done something anyway, even though you're feeling, what's an example of a time you've used courage recently? Yeah.
So like, in our investment profession, there's a very strong competition for hot deals. Like if you're trying to invest in a company which is like famous, has support from a lot of like a high caliber investment, it's just very difficult. We call it get allocation, like to be allowed to invest your few $1 million in a round. And like every time you receive no, it's always like unpleasant. I mean, they are nice to you, but like saying, you know what, we had this interest from, this and that, and Anderson Horowitz and RI Capital, Flagship Pioneering. Sorry guys, you and your fund, like we're not really sure, like your $3 or $5 million will make a difference in our $150 million round. So like in the first year of our work, I was like, well, it was pretty unpleasant. It's damaged my own self-esteem, etc. So then I think I was reading the book of Scott Galloway, the author of The Four and Algebra of Happiness book. The Four is an amazing book about the role of big tech in our society and our economy as well. He's an amazing guy. I think he's professor, somewhere in New York, New York Stern University, if I remember correctly. And then he basically told in this book, like, if you are not receiving enough no's, like no, literally negative answers, you're not trying hard. And this completely changed our origination paradigm. Like, so and I had a discussion with my team, and I was lucky they supported me. And I said, guys, our ratio no to yes should be at least 50% or even more. We should try to knock like every door that we want to invest. And we receive a no, like every time we receive a no, we should embrace it, right? Because we just contributed to our ratio. And that's okay. We are alive, right? Our money is there. We tried. We did our best. We don't regret like, oh, you know what? We didn't even try to enter this competitive process as well. So right now, like my mentality and like quality of our origination changed completely, because we know like we tried very hard to enter some of the deals. And you know what? We received so many unexpected yes, you couldn't even imagine. Like one of the guys, I don't want to mention him, who endorsed my book. And like I receive a lot of support from my book, like from Dave Asprey, like the #1 biohacker on the planet, from Peter Diamandis, from Ray Kurzweil, from Tony Robbins, whom I know pretty well, David Sinclair, David Pirimuri, you name it, like Keith Ferrazzi, the author of Never Eat Alone book. So like, but the only reason why I received this whole amazing support, they know me, but I was brave enough to approach them and say, guys, I have this book, and it's a life-changing book. This is my mission. This is how I want to change the world. Do you mind to support me? Well, And in some of the cases, I received no, but like in all of these cases, with all of these few names, I received yes. And it was literally, I had discussion with my team, and I'm like, Sergey, how you can approach this guy with a big name? Like the probability of no is like 99.9%. And because of the recent influence of Scott Galloway, I said, okay, well, let's just try. And funny enough, so this man, he responded like overnight with email and said, well, Sergey, I just went through your book. It's such a great book. This is exactly what we need to change the world. Here's your full support. Like, if I would have this, mentality, like, I would not even try because I'm afraid of receiving no. I would just, sit and wait here.
Yeah, I had the same experience. Your team said the book's coming out. Do you want to have Sergey on the show? And I was like, yeah, it's an easy yes. So it's clear that you're putting so much of yourself into this, and you're
yeah, it is. And I think you highlighted another very important point. So life is a two-way road. Right. I'm never approaching people like, what, guys, I'm trying to make money here. Like, I just want to use it. Right. The rule of life, you need to share the best of you. Like, you need to give more than you take, and the rest is fine. People feel it, and you want to bring value to them as well. And so that's what makes these conversations and this kind of agreements and this, sometimes a difficult process more enjoyable, rewarding, and mutually beneficial in a very good sense of these words.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing so much about your, on the business side, about how that stuff works. Because I think, at least for me, I had no idea, like how all this money like gets from one place to another, and companies get funded. So that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about morality. There's a chapter of morality of immortality, and you were talking about the avatars. And I think you also mentioned a lot of people don't want to live forever or live longer.
Yeah. Well, that's my biggest problem. It was like the biggest shock I've ever had, but right now I'm cool with that. So if you ask people in US and UK, I mentioned these two countries because I've seen the figures, like 65 to 75% of people say no to life extension, to the opportunity to extend their life, no matter, like, even if you over like 5 to 10 years more, people just say, no, I'm not in this game. And it's obviously, I'm like super positive guy. I'm idealistic. So world shouldn't consist, fully from Sergey Young's, but I was so surprised. So I started to dig into that, and that's why I created like a separate chapter. It's a final chapter of the book called Morality of Immortality, about our ethical choices and morality of living longer. So my takeaway, I've just done a TEDx talk on that called Morality of Immortality as well. So the motto of this TED talk is like, we have created the science and technology to extend our life, but we haven't created life that we want to extend. There's so many ethical choices that we need to make. There's so many things that we need to change in this world before people will believe and will have a desire to live in a new version of the world. Like, think about inequality. Inequality gap is just constantly increasing. This is awful. Like, lifespan in some of these zip codes in US, which sharing the same border, can be as different as 15 years. 15 years, right? For the same city. This is depending on the, part of the city. This is awful. These are all the same people. They should have like equal access to healthcare. So that's one. Like, inequality is a big thing. Obviously, like, world overpopulation is the other thing. People still think like by the end of this century, this planet will carry 15 billion people. It's not. Our reproduction rates are decreasing all the time.
Right.
Well, that's why if you look like any reliable study you look at, so the population of the world will reach a peak by 2050, and it's going to be about 10, 11 billion, and then it's going to decrease to 8 billion. So we need to respond to this demographic change with longevity technology and extending productive part of our human lives, just to fight silver tsunami or resources. Like one of the questions, like how are we going to feed all these people? And my response is 45% of food goes to waste in US every night, from restaurants, households, and supermarkets. This is awful. Like, we can feed all these people, but we're just so inefficient with like distribution of resources. And there's so many things, like our relationship with Mother Nature, right? We're so selfish, we're so egoistic, we're so irresponsible, because we think we're going to be like, I'm going to be dying in 20 years, so next generation will sort out this plastic in the ocean. No, we're not. We're all going to be like, takeaway of this book, we're all going to be living longer or significantly longer than we expect. So we will face the consequences of our own actions. Can we just like, can we really take care and take back control and responsibility for our own health and the health of our planet? And my favorite piece, all these social constructs that we have in today's world, like marriage, retirement, career, was designed for the version of the world like 100 years ago, when people were living on average 35 to 45 years. You can obviously have one marriage, one career. Because you're going to die in 45 years.
Yeah.
Right now.
Crazy to think about, you have a marriage and a family, and then your kids grow up, and, you may be like friends with your great grandchildren because.
How are we going to manage this whole cross-generational relationships, communication, and then how are we going to manage this? Literally portfolio of kids from different generations, if you want, right? 2/3 of the marriages go to divorce in 5 to 7 years in US, in the UK, in most of the developed world. I mean, it's very unfortunate. Can we just think about how we expand the universe of different formats of our relationship, our mutual dependence and mutual responsibility, like kids raising partnerships as well. And this is not me advocating this. This is life manifesting this with all these facts. Or career, like, how many careers can I have in this? I can have in this world. Can I have as many careers as decades in my life? Or retirement. Right now we have this binary view of employment relationship. It's like I'm either working or I'm retired. It's 1 or 0. Again, another binary thing in our black and white human mentality. If you listen to Dan Buettner, the author of Blue Zone's book, like he says, the two most dangerous years in your life in terms of longevity and mortality is the year of your birth and the year of your retirement. Because if you retire fully and we don't have enough flexible kind of working engagement and social engagement models in today's world, you lose your social connection, like sense of purpose, like place where you go, where you add value, sharing your wisdom. You can do it in family, but I want to do it in so many places when I turn 185 and I would need to retire. But think about this, and the time to start this conversation is today. It's not in 25 years from now, when the world's going to be full of human avatars and we're going to be all connected in Internet of Bodies, and we don't have like a lot of nanobots in our blood fighting with cancer cells. We need to discuss this now, and that's the reason why people hate an idea of living longer. And I'm not a fan of immortality at all. I do think if you take out like a death from human cycle, we will not be humans again. But like radical life extension is the thing. So I have plenty of time. I'm planning to live 200 years. It's completely irresponsible promise given the current state of science and technology. But imagine every morning I wake up and I know I'm going to be living 200 years. I have 3/4 of my life ahead of me. This is amazing. I'm full of plans, full of dreams. I even want to go to Mars Because if I'm living 200 years, I can speak to my kids and say, guys, you know what? Can you excuse me for like 2.5 years from Earth? I'm going to be going to Mars and back and forth, and that's it. I'll see you a little bit later. So that's the magnitude of opportunity.
I'm curious what that does. Okay, if you're approaching it with the mindset of living to 200, how does that impact the way you move through your day?
Very interesting. Well, first of all, your body is just responding to that. So a lot of processes in your body are reversed. If you think in terms of like aging itself, like hallmarks of aging. So I'm full of energy. And this is one of the massive changes that I received through this whole psychological exercise. I'm typical placebo man. If I believe in something, then my body responds to that. So that's the case. Well, for me, it was and it is an opportunity to think bigger. Like if I would be like, I'm 49 today, right? And well, let's assume I was about to die, and when I was expecting to be dead by 80, it was just another 30 years, and half of this is going to be like retirement, just slow down. I would not have such an ambitious mission, like changing billion lives. So that actually gives you an opportunity to be as ambitious as you want on a global scale. So that's one. The second takeaway for me, and this is very personal, and I've never actually reflected on this in such a structured manner. You just start to realize, I mean, if you're going to be here for so many years, so many decades, this is not about money. You need to share the best of you with the world. You need to, take responsibility for this world, because, I mean, if world is declining and it's like global warming, all this waste and all these ecological problems, all these societal problems, then do I want to live like a 200 years in this version of the world, which is going to be like world of division, rather than world of unification. And you also realize that life is about something different, like more in spirituality terms, and connecting with the universe, giving more than you take. So it sounds a little bit idealistic, but like exactly the thoughts and thinking process and feeling process that I had. That's it. But you obviously going to have more kids. That's for sure.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And I think, yeah, that makes total sense that, like we've been kicking the can down the road, like, oh, it'll be my kids' problems. Or even when people eat, crappy food, they're like, well, that's a problem for future me. But if you're going to be living a long, long time, then you think, okay, is this the externalities of our actions and the costs become more apparent for us?
Yeah, I agree.
This is just a random question, but your last name being Young, and now you're talking about staying young and longevity and stuff. It reminds me of the Malcolm Gladwell, like people named Dennis are more likely to become dentists. Yeah. Were you born Sergey Young? Or?
No. I've created this whole Sergey Young guy. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, and it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I just went to one of his trainings, and Tony is he's a big man. He's full of energy and positive thoughts. He's like, I've created this Tony Robbins guy, and I'm like, okay. I Googled him, and apparently his family name is different. Okay, and I thought, well, if Tony Robbins can do that, and there's so many artists and from creative profession, I have a Chinese friend. She changed her family name when she moved from China to US as well, because she said, like, Sergey, if I will go here as like Ling Kwang Pong, no one will work with me, right? It's just difficult in terms of a cultural context. She's amazing entrepreneur, and I thought, okay, what if I have Russian family name? Like every time I arrived to US, they were like, oh, tell us about sanctions. Tell us about politics. Like, are you guys still have bears like waiting on, walking on the streets of Moscow and like drinking vodka with other drunk people? So like, first 15 to 20 minutes of every conversation, I was just explaining my Russia story. Can I do this? Of course. But like, you only start from negative consideration, and people like, by the end of this 20 minutes, they're like, oh, he's not that bad. He's invested a lot in the US. He has this 3 degrees, including MBA from one of the best universities in the UK. He can speak English. Oh, wow. Well, let me just reconsider my negative first perception of the guy. So, and I thought it's just not the best use of my time, given my mission, right? So I thought, well, what if I create like a second persona? It's a trademark, registered all around the world, which I use for my longevity mission. And it's amazing. Sergey Young doesn't have any past. This is beautiful. I can do a lot of things. I can be as visionary, as brave, as bold as I want. So that's the story. But I'm very upfront about this. Like every time has been on Rich Roll podcast. This was his first question. And I'm like, you know what? Here's my story. You can check it. But it works 100% of time. Since I changed my family name, I've never had like conversation which I need to explain my past for 20 minutes. I can, from the minute number 1, I can dig into the world of longevity, of the important mission and an important opportunity for all of us to live healthy, happier, longer life.
That's fascinating, and it's so cool that you actually followed through with it, because I imagine some people choose to, or they think about it but they don't actually do it. So
yeah, look, I mean, it's like the best psychological experiment I've ever done in my life. I mean, you need to be mentally healthy to support couple of personas, but I mean, it's such an enjoyable journey, and it just reinforces your passion and gives you an opportunity to just recreate like a better version of yourself.
That's amazing. Yeah,
it is.
I'd like to give you chances to just bring up whatever I haven't asked you about, or whatever you think is most important to from what you've learned in doing your research, or whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah, so like, well, let's just stick to like, what are the key takeaways from my book, and then why you want to read it. Number 1, I told already, we all going to be living longer or significantly longer. So these are like your 2 choices, 2 avenues. Like, it's either longer or radically longer. So, and that's why it's time to take responsibility and control for our health. So that's very important. There are many exciting technologies which are waiting for us in 10, 15, 20 years from now, like gene editing, gene therapy, organ regeneration, longevity in the pill, or even if you want to go further, it's like 25, 50 years from now, it's human avatars, Internet of bodies, human brain, computer integration. But for your body and your mind to be worth extending its resource in 15 years from now, you need to keep yourself at a very healthy and happy state. So stay on longevity bridge. Do all of this boring stuff like early diagnostic of cancer. Don't die stupid, and follow passive longevity rules. There's a separate bonus chapter. It's twice as long as any other chapter in the book, called Who Wants to Live Forever? Like your 10 longevity choices today. Or follow healthy diet, mostly plant-based. Do your 10,000 steps a day, and keep your peace of mind, like with sleep, meditation, mindfulness, sense of purpose. This is all very important. So stay on longevity bridge, take control and responsibility for your own health now, and just be excited. Watch out this whole, I call it 7 signs of longevity revolution in the book. Like, there's so many things happening around us which give us more tools, more opportunity to live healthier and happier version of our life.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I think, I think I've heard Aubrey de Grey talk about, like, we we need to get there. You're talking about the longevity bridge. We need to live long enough to have all these technologies mature, and then we can essentially approach living forever. And I think it's fascinating to think about, or at least I saw his TED Talk a couple of years ago, and he said at some point everybody's just going to die from freak accidents.
Yeah, of course.
Because statistically people die of, car crashes and freak things. But if you have everything else taken, right, you might be 800 or 1,000 before you actually have a motorcycle crash.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure about like 800 or 1,000. We see inflation in the world, not only in monetary terms, but in terms of life expectancy and communication as well. But like, if I can add 10, 20 healthy and happy years to my life and life of so many people on earth, so be it. Well, let's just like work on the first 10, 20 healthy and happy years, right in the middle of like productive stage of our life. And we'll sort out like decision making about further life extension later on.
Yeah, fantastic. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing so much of your personal story. And I appreciate, there's a lot of research that went into this. I can tell. I talked to a lot of people, probably read a ton, familiarizing yourself. So this is a great resource. I just acknowledge you for putting that book together. It's been a great conversation. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. And book is doing great. Like we talking just a few weeks before the book launch, and we're already #1 on Amazon. #1 new release on Amazon in 3 categories: preventive medicine, longevity, and aging. This is great. Like for the new book, we're actually competing in bestseller list with books who already been on sale for the last few months. So this is great, and it's very reassuring. And I do hope that someone told me it can be world-changing book. Well, that's my expectation.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Derek. Thanks, everyone. Stay healthy and happy, please.